Today on the Business of Beautiful Spaces podcast for interior designers, I'm joined by New York-based interior designer Nicole Fisher. She is the principal of BNR Interiors, known for her ability to create unforgettable experiences through layered, collected, and highly customized interiors. Nicole's work leans heavily on vintage finds, historic elements, and one-of-a-kind pieces that you don't see anywhere else. But what makes Nicole's story truly stands out is her incredible journey from fashion to interiors. Starting her career with none other than Lady Gaga's styling team, Nicole honed her eye for detail, craftsmanship, and storytelling. Working on everything from music videos to high fashion editorials for Vogue, Vanity Fair, and W Magazine. She later brought that same editorial eye to interiors, designing everything from celebrity apartments to boutique hotels. Today, her work is featured in Architectural Digest. What designer doesn't have that as a dream? Elle Decor and Rue Magazine. She's also been named the designer to know by Cherish. In this conversation, Nicole and I talk about the unique perspective on how growing a profitable business doesn't mean sacrificing your creative vision, and how you can scale without losing the essence of what makes your work so special. So Nicole lives in Hudson Valley with her husband Lee, her son Sebastian, their two dogs, Whiskey and Cosmo. And let's get started talking to Nicole. Hi there, interior design lovers. Welcome back to the Business of Beautiful Spaces, the podcast where we blend design inspiration with all behind-the-scenes tips and tricks you need to thrive in your business. I'm your host, Laura Thornton, and with over 27 years in this interior design game and running a 7-figure design company, trust me, I've seen it all. I want to be your interior design bestie. I want to help you build the business of your dreams, make more money, and yes, ditch the stress along the way. I've been doing this for a long time, and now I'm sharing my knowledge with all of you, my fellow designers and decorators. All I ask in return is that you like, review, and follow this podcast wherever you listen, so other designers can find us and learn more too. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into making 2025 your best business year yet. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for joining me today on the Business of Beautiful Spaces. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Can you start off by letting us know how you got into being an interior designer and how the BNR Interiors came to life?
Yeah, of course. I started in fashion. I was in editorial styling for Lady Gaga, and really was, man, that job was 7 days a week, no free time whatsoever. But I was able to really fine tune my eye, um, and I think use some of these skills to my future, job as an interior designer. Um, At some point, that transition really became working for family. My mom was downsizing homes, and I asked her if I could do it. It was always something that I was super passionate about. And she said, sure. And it just sparked this entire incredible interest for me. And the referrals started coming in. I mean, it was really just friends and family to start. I worked at One Kings Lane on their um, studio, and I got a client who wanted to hire me outside of the studio, and that I just took the 10 grand and went with it.
Well, it sounds like your time in fashion set you up for being an entrepreneur, because as we all know, it is a 7-day-a-week job all the time, always on. And as you get more established, you can allow yourself a little bit more downtime. But aren't we always like on? Or as I was just saying to Nicole before we hit go, I don't have a phone today. I feel like I'm missing my left arm, but like we're always available. So, right? Like, aren't we always feeling like we're always
Totally.
available? So I know you use the phrase, sorry about that, the good design. And can you tell me what the context of that is with your brand?
Yeah, of course. Good design to me is being true to who you are. Good design is really harnessing on the things that light you up and make you excited about doing what you do every day. You're doing such a intimate job for someone, and you have to be excited about it and excited about creating something that somebody couldn't do for themselves.
And you scaled your business starting with that $10,000 egg that you got from your job at the one
Yeah.
client from One Kings Lane, and you've clearly turned that into a solid business. You have a team of 5, if I'm not mistaken, or that's what's
Yeah.
on your website. And so, how did you take the good design and not compromise the aesthetics with profitability to be able to build and scale your business?
Right. That took a really long time.
Yeah.
That took up until the last year. Really, I've been doing this for 11 years, and it was a constant struggle of personal time and business time. And I mean, as any entrepreneur would absolutely tell you, the balance is just almost non-existent after a while. Um, but the thing that kind of kept me in this very, very focused way was staying true to who I was. And sometimes I had to take clients that I didn't really vibe with or that I didn't want to just to keep the lights on. Um, and over time, you realize that by doing so, you're keeping the lights on per se, but you're also not staying true to who you are and who you want to work with. And that relationship has become so important to me, and having those good back and forth, the respect, the trust, everything with that client is like number one in my book. And if that's there, I think the creativity kind of flows a lot easier because there is that level of trust there. And it allows me to be creative and allows me to be really good at what I do. But taking that from, one client to, we have 18 projects going on right now. There were significant changes I had to make in my process, in my business day to day, and really to like keep my sanity. Um, the most important thing that I have learned through actually working with a business coach is this idea that creativity and creative roles can scale. It
Mhm.
just, you have to know how to do it. And to me, it's this idea of a 10-80-10 rule where I give you this initial 10% and that jumping off point. You have a team that does that 80%, and then you can come in 10% at the end and kind of fine tune it, um, and put your special magic sauce on it. But that 80% is how you alleviate your time and how I have been able to grow.
Yeah. I always call it buying back my time, right? Like I'm buying back
Absolutely.
my time,
Yep.
freeing up my time so that I can work in my business or on my business as opposed to the day to day. I want to just go back a bit because I love what you were talking about with the alignment, like meaning clients and I'm assuming your team as well. Because that's something I really like. I, of course, took projects in the beginning where like I really didn't like the people I was working with. They didn't value me and my time or my expertise or my education. And like everything in you didn't want to show up at that job site, or you're like, ugh, I don't want to go there today, but you have to go
Hmm.
because to your point, it's keeping the lights on, it's paying the bills. And those projects just don't ever light you up, but also they don't seem to go well because clearly there's no alignment. And so as we do scale and as we are able to figure those feelings out and also figure out where we and how we want to work, I find that I have so little of that in my life now because I've worked really hard to have that alignment with my team and my clients and who I've built up my referral network with. But also, I really think it relates to our core values of my business, which is something that I
Hmm.
also feel like if we're going to talk about alignment, I'm going to make sure that we're feeling good about everything. It should actually relate to your core values of how you started your business, even when it was just one person, and when you're bringing people in, what do those values look like? Would that something that you would agree with?
Absolutely. I think I'm so lucky that as we, grow and expand, we are able to just keep fine tuning and fine tuning and fine tuning the avenue in which, our employees and our clients kind of fit is so specific that we're going to rock no matter what because it's so in line in what's important to me and the business in general.
So when you first decided to scale, can I ask you what your first hire and who your first hire was?
Absolutely. Okay, so I made a lot of mistakes over the last few years, but
Learning lessons, a lot
when
of
we
learning
learning
lessons,
this, there
not
we go.
mistakes.
I love it. The first hire that was the right hire, I'll go with that, was an assistant. So the assistant I found most of most of my time, I had to do a real audit of my time and what I was spending my time on. I literally was spending 95% of my day on administrative stuff.
Yeah.
And it was answering emails. It was talking to clients. It was my calendar. It was setting up appointments. It was site visits. It was so many things that were not worth my time. To your point, that is like an easy way for you to compartmentalize. This is what is taking up most of my time. Is that equal to the value of my time? And it wasn't, like, by a landslide. So hiring an assistant to take over that calendar and inbox was life changing. Like, life changing. I was like, what am I supposed to do with the rest of my day? It was insane how much time I had left over, that I could focus on the things that, like, really excited me, really, that I wanted to do. I wasn't able to be creative for a while. And really, like, dig my head down into these projects. And that hire was the best hire that I made. And it really allowed me to, I think that was that first step in scaling.
I would. So my first hire was an assistant junior designer.
Yeah.
And well, I first outsourced accounting. I'll take that up. And then I hired a junior designer thinking that would help me. But to your point, the first correct hire was having an assistant. It was a game changer because it
Yep.
took all the small tasks that could be done at a much lower hourly rate off my plate over to someone else, and I could be focused on the things that made the business money. And then as that person got more confident, it actually allowed me to take a holiday for the first time in years where I actually was able to enjoy the holiday. So it comes with time and effort and getting the right people in the
Yep.
right seat, but it really, the trade-off is unbelievable for what you gain back. But again, it's the
Absolutely.
learning lessons of how do we figure this out? And I always ask because I'm always curious, but it seems to be pretty consistent that the right hire is the someone who might not even be a designer. It might be somebody who
Right.
just needs to help you run your everyday, your day to day, and the papers that are sit on our desks. I have a pile that like very rarely makes its way down until I hand it over. Say, okay, I'm giving up, and now it's for you to do. So now with that, and you have your first hire, is that when you started introducing heavily like systems into your business, or had you already prepped and set up for bringing people in with systems?
I had attempted to have my systems, but the system just was basically Nicole doing everything, that which, doesn't work. So over the last 6 months, we have completely revamped our process, completely revamped our systems. We are
Systems.
putting in the computer all of our training, all of the documentation, to so someone coming in can look at this and know exactly what they need to do, rather than going through this whole, session of training for weeks or months. I'm trying to be this efficient machine as much as I humanly can be. And it has taken time, but also with the right people who can come in with really good experience or really good knowledge. And this was fully a team effort that was, we laid all the kind of individual segments of the process out on the table. And then each person kind of took their part and then added to it. And then we fine tuned it. And then we added to it. And then we fine tuned it. And now it's just this beautiful doc living in our, Google Drive
Yeah.
that is like our Bible. And that's what we have created these training sessions off of. So each one of those things are now living in training software as well, so that we can continue to grow.
It's such an investment of time and money to do it,
Yeah.
but so smart to do it when you're still scaling because it'll end up saving you down the road. And like anyone, like you said, people can walk in and start working right away and not feel lost. And someone might not have the time to spend, or they might not understand. But if that, actually call ours the Bible too, funny enough, but you have this to work from, and that you would be able to. Well, we have
Yeah.
two Bibles, one that lives on the job site and one that lives in the
Yes.
office. But all the systems, everybody knows what's happening, what's next steps, who's bottlenecking, where is there issues. Now, this is a little off topic, but do you use any software, like any interior design software, like the MyDomas, the Design Docs? Do you engage and use any of those?
So we've tried a few.
Yeah.
Right now, we're using a Designer Advantage, and there's different levels of service they offer, but they have a bookkeeping component to it, and then PO organization. They place the orders, they
Yeah.
track them, and make sure everything's right. So we have fully implemented with them.
Right. And so we had done this, like we use Design Docs here, which is about to change, but because I'm in Toronto, but then we also were using Asana to like have all of our systems
Hmm.
in Asana and it'll trigger if someone else to, but I can't wait for the day that somebody takes these two premises and puts them together and we end up with a software that can work for most designers because it'd be really great to have that integration somehow. But AI is changing the world really quick. You never know what's going to happen.
I know. I haven't figured out that one software that does everything though. That I have.
Yeah.
We also use Asana too, but
Yeah. I
the
know.
one
Everyone says
software
the same thing.
that's
We're all looking for it. So anyone who's listening
yeah.
who's found something, be sure to let us all know because or create it. Whoever's got some time on their
Right.
hand, can you create
AI
that
genius,
all of us
call me.
designers? Yeah. I keep getting on my social media feed like create an app in AI in like 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, somebody see that. I'm sure it's not 10 minutes, let's be clear.
Right.
But somebody run with that and put those two things together and give us a software that can take our processes and take our designs and make it all happen under one. Okay, so your brand identity throughout your growth has been super consistent. Is there any strategies with that? Is there some, have you been working with someone to do that, or is that all Nicole's mind and vision, and we're watching it unfold?
You're watching it unfold. I like to call my process this beautiful chaos. There is just it is chaotic, but there is some level of beauty to it. There is just I have evolved. My eye has evolved. Our client level of budget has evolved. The size and scale of these projects have evolved. So I think it's natural for that evolution to happen in terms of brand identity, but sticking to those core values and like what sets us apart, especially in our area, offering this level of full service design, having designated project management in our office, having receiving warehouses, having this full scope where you bring your suitcase at the end of the job is something that I have been fine tuning over the years. But part of like the ethos of the brand, creating something that's so unique yet turnkey that when you hire us, that you're coming home at the end and it's done.
Yeah, lovely. And so, what role has social media had in that for you, or what is your biggest driver of business, and where are you focusing your most marketing attention?
So the biggest driver is still referrals.
Mhm.
We now that we're scaling, I am trying to pivot to different marketing campaigns, advertising, doing more um, Instagram reels, boosting ads there. Um, it's just a whole entire other beast that I am not going to lie and say that I'm fantastic at. I'm not. Um, but it's funny the way that we're in our business right now is we're in this like weird middle ground. We're doing great, but in order for me to take that next step, really with like hires, I need to do the marketing and the advertising component because the referrals is kind of getting me in that stagnant place. And if I want to keep growing, it's gotta match it. The
Mhm.
number of projects have to go up too, right? So we're currently in the midst of exploring all that. We just hired a PR company, and social media has been incredible for brand recognition, engagement, learning about our community, where we are, how we can be offering this educational component to what we do without giving away this everything on a platter, this fine line of being really informative yet not cheapening what we do, um, has been very interesting to me. But I think social is just the way of the now, the way of the future. There's no way around it. I tried so hard to avoid it for so long because I didn't think that it aligned with a luxury brand. Um, but I think if you can figure out how to stay true to yourself in every aspect of what you're doing, including social media, then you'll just see that consistency and that type of follower, that type of engagement kind of run its course through not only your clients, but in your social media following too. So that's what we're kind of seeing now. It's a ton of work
Hmm.
and requires a ton of investment there,
Yeah.
time and money.
Yes.
And, you know, it's there's just no way around it. But I have had to put myself in front of a camera more often. I have had to open my home. I'd have to open my office, show the process a bit more. And to that extent, it's fun, it's exciting, and doesn't portray this, I think, notoriously stuffy industry as being so only for the rich. I think that Instagram has allowed it to be for everyone.
Mhm.
And it's kind of cool that we can be a part of that process.
It's so true. And I mean, when you were saying about your hired a PR company, and yes, you're growing, but all of this is, like you said, time, it's money. It's a lot of money and a lot of effort, and not always being able to track our ROI on it. Like,
Right.
we pay for a marketing person, we have all this social media going out, then you've got the website and you want to revamp the website. Well, that adds up really quick. So it's this constant, like, where do I take this money and where do I invest it and who do I trust with it? Just like we want
Yeah.
our clients to trust us. And so I can only imagine that it's a big endeavor for you for sure. And then with that also, it's we're in a weird coming out of COVID where every designer I know was booked
Mm,
riding the high. Now we're in this weird, like, people is 401ks for you and investment portfolios for us have hit it. And so we're all kind of waiting to see where this is going to level out. And right away, people will stop putting money into their marketing because it's saving them money. But in my head, that's the last time, and we should not be breaking the marketing budget. You should be throwing more money at it for when the times come back that people are spending. You don't want to be forgotten about. And so I know it's something that people, designers, take out of their budget when times get leaner. And it's a
right.
really hard thing to keep investing in. And so I know even for the first time I started paying for someone to do it for me, it's a hard check to write. Really hard check to write. And so then you have to start thinking about what are you going to do in your business to have the profitability to be able to balance that. So is there something that you have found over the years that you've been in business that has been a great revenue stream for you to help foster investments into your marketing for the future projects?
Yeah, I mean, I like to look at my ROI as if there is one thing that comes out of even, you know, 6 months investment, of 1 year investment. If I have one client that comes to me from Instagram, it's paid for my year.
Hmm.
So as long that has been consistent, even if it's just one, that's enough for me to say, okay, fine. If I talk to my financial advisor, she's like, well, that's great. So let's do it again. Or like, let's double that so you can get like more. And like, then I start to get triggered. Like, how many dollars are we supposed to be throwing at this? I
Right.
don't understand. She's like, well, that was 1,000% ROI on that. I'm like, yeah, but it took 6 months, and it was this unicorn of a person. How do I get it flowing to a point where it's consistent? And it's that consistency that is so unpredictable with social and like all of this money just going out and out and
Yes.
out. Um, that just makes me, nervous because now I have staff of
Yeah.
5. Like it's just, I am,
Everybody gets paid before we do. Everybody.
everyone gets paid.
I
It's
know. It's so
crazy.
true. Yeah. Everybody gets paid. Okay. So what I'm hearing too, and I use this term a lot, even though I know it's a buzz, but like mindset, right? So
Yeah.
it's a mindset your financial advisor is saying, so let's do it again. You're like, oh, pump the brakes. I don't know if I'm comfortable with doing it because I just got rewarded for it. So I want to keep it all. So if it's a mindset shift, what do designers, or what would you recommend we make in order to scale successfully? What mind shift, like, what have you had to do to take that out and away from your thought process with, when, just like what you just said with your financial advisor, and you're like, no, because
Yeah.
it's really
I
us
think,
getting over ourselves, right? So how do you
right.
do that?
The mindset thing for me is just feeling really confident in what I'm doing, and how I've shifted my perspective on that is less in my office and more in my like home life. That is like me waking up earlier. That's me working out every day. That's me um, setting aside real time for my 6-year-old son and like family time that has nothing to do with my job. That is me leaving work on Fridays at 2 o'clock
Mhm.
because I need that mental like break. And it has helped me like unbelievable amounts control how I think and how I feel on a day-to-day basis so I can come in and be the best boss and best like version of myself that I could be.
Yeah. And I love that too because my kids now are, well, 20 and 23 and it'll be 24, and you don't get that time back.
Yeah.
So you got to cherish it while you can because everyone says it goes fast. When you're in it, you don't feel it that way. But now that they're this age, it goes real quick. And then they're at a point where they're gone to school and you're like, and I just want them back and I want them on the sofa to snuggle with. Look, I'm gonna get all teary-eyed because it goes really quick.
Oh,
So enjoy all, and that's part of the beauty of, being an entrepreneur. Yes, we can put them to bed and go back to work and we think they don't know, but they do. But it's one of those things where that's part of the beauty of it. Make that time for yourself and
yeah.
savor it because it goes really quickly. So yeah, I always find too with mindset for me, it's whenever I get uncomfortable and I'm uncomfortable with like, and I don't want to use the word icky, but like I got a bit of a nauseous stomach and I'm like the growth and I got to make big decisions. And then I always find that when I look back, that was the biggest growth in my business when I was a little uncomfortable. Not because we can always play the dance in our mind to spend the money. I could put the money away. I could do like we could always do that dance. But I always found when I was, trying to make big decisions and I was uncomfortable, in the end, it resulted in the biggest growth, which is such a bizarre
Right.
thing to put together. But I do belong to this entrepreneur group, and that seems to be very consistent in what a lot of people will refer to the biggest growth in their business is when you have to get uncomfortable and make those new big steps to try and see where it can take you, which it is. It's scary. It's scary for all of us. It's scary to not know what's going to be on the other side of that. And especially to your point,
Absolutely.
a team of 5 people, everybody gets paid before you. It's frightening. It's daunting. So for those
It's
listening,
also
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's also that with your mindset, it is just you almost manifesting. You believe it so much that you are manifesting it. And sometimes it's those things that it happens, or I'm like so nervous about this presentation and then we kill it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I manifested that. We manifested this beautiful reaction and this beautiful thing to happen. So having goals is like another one of those mindset things, and like
Yeah.
looking at those goals and thinking I'm going to make that happen this year. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Super powerful. I do that every January. We take 2 weeks off here. We shut down the studio and everybody's home. And I always the day after, like, okay, so New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, a little recovery. And so the second I always sit down and I have the same book I've had for a decade, and I can
Oh
go
wow.
back and look at all the years, but I only write on it in this on the 2nd of January. And to your point, I write my goals for this year and you know what they are. And then I like going back after and making the check marks of what got done. And once in a blue moon, it does have to come on over. But I think a lot of us are guilty of A, being list makers, but B, being very driven and control. And usually we hit all those marks. And I mean, I'm manifesting but you have to do it. Like it's not going to just happen. But
Yeah.
I definitely believe in the same thing. I believe that we set these goals, and if we're working towards them, they come to fruition. So let's knock on wood. We're almost halfway
Knock on wood.
through.
That's right.
So we've got a bunch of people listening who might be still early in their business. Of course, there's always seasoned designers as well. But what advice would you
Yeah.
give them about growing without losing the creative spark? And what I mean by that is it's very easy for us to get lost, as we talked about earlier in the podcast, about, the paperwork and the accounting and the HR elements. But how do we scale, and how do we still maintain our creative juices and get to still touch the pretty things?
Right. I would say, I mean, to me, the assistant hire was number one for me. And even if you are starting out and you can't afford someone on a full scale, get a virtual assistant, get someone 5 hours a week, get someone, as small as you can afford, and offload just a little bit to them. Offload, pick one, pick your calendar or pick your inbox. Like let them own something really daunting to you because it will totally open up your mind to being creative and allowing you to do what you love and why you got into this in the first place. And when you boggle your mind down on, tasks that just are awful, or to me, that's bookkeeping, that's accounting, that's anything with numbers just doesn't work for me. Um, do it in a way that is comfortable for you and, you're financially comfortable, but in a way that it makes a real impact on your day to day.
Yeah. I love that too. And I always tracked my time. I always recommend designers track their time so you can see how much time is going to some of these tasks. Because if you actually put pen to paper and realize it's taking you 10 hours a week on accounting, that's
Yep.
10 hours a week that could be billed at a different rate to a VA or an assistant or somebody who is getting paid far less than what you could be making for your business. And it's those small things that will add up and you can buy your time back. And then that's up to you to how you choose to do you get to leave at 2 o'clock to be able to hang out with your kiddos? Do you get to have your walk in the
Yeah.
morning? Get yourself to the gym? Is it just simply time to yourself to read, to meditate, to do yoga, whatever the case may be? But if you're not tracking that time and you don't know how much time is going to those tasks, then that's where I always say start there, figure out what's taking you time and what you hate doing.
Right.
To your point, because then you'll always want to get rid of it. And then it has value. Doesn't matter how much they're charging, it has value. Nicole, where can anyone find you? Give us all the places to find you.
Okay. Our Instagram is probably the most bustling place to find me. So that's BNR Interiors. And if you're listening to this and you DM me podcast, I am going to give you a glimpse of my things I love in my Pinterest board that I put together specifically for this.
Awesome.
Give you some inspiration to go from. And my website is bnrinteriors.com. We are constantly updating with new exciting projects, and I love meeting new people and chatting.
Super. Well, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.